So, I have a little bit of a confession to make today. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you might already know this. And if you've been following me for a really long time, there's a good chance that you knew this before I even knew it. But I am a serial pivoter. And what I mean by that is if you think back to the Friends episode where they're trying to move the couch up the steps with Ross and he's like, pivot, pivot, pivot. That is what's going on in my head all day long. Well, when things aren't necessarily working, that's like what my brain is telling me to do, guys. And so when I was trying to come up with what I wanted to do this week's video about, I was thinking, I always kind of think back to my week and reflect on what happened, and well, nothing really happened. There was nothing like substantially great happened, but nothing that was like shitty really happened either, which, you know, sometimes we need those kind of weeks. But so because I didn't have anything that I felt like was making progress, I started, saying to myself, I was asking myself, okay, like how do I feel right now? How do I feel about where I'm at in business and life and blogging and stuff this week? And I felt like I didn't get anywhere, and I felt like I haven't made any progress. And when we have thoughts like that, I think it's really important to ask ourselves why. And so I was like, okay, well, what is it? Why don't I feel like I made any progress? And the answer that I knew right away was because I didn't make any money. I mean, I made like a couple dollars off of affiliate links, but like I didn't make any being able to pay the bills kind of money that I needed to, especially because Fashion Week's coming up and I've been pitching for that, and I'm hoping to get more brands on board, and that was my big goal for this week. Well, my big goal was to get rejected, and you can learn about that in a video 2, the last blog post I did about how I made it my goal this week and last week and a little bit the week before to like go out there and get rejected. And it's been working fantastic because I've been outreaching far more than I would have. I would have stopped a lot sooner. And I think that what it comes down to is that my patience is really being tested right now, because I've really done a lot lately to kind of power through some of the limiting beliefs that I have and some of the habits that I get myself into that I know are detrimental to my success and my ability to progress. Like procrastinating when I don't know what to say. Like if I don't know what to say in an email or something, I'll go and like pin for an hour, and that's not really an effective use of my time. I mean, you should utilize Pinterest, but not you don't pincrastinate. I do that a lot. But so I've been really trying to stick to, I've been laying out like my schedule for myself each day, and it almost never goes the way that I plan it to the day before. However, it does help me stay on track, and sometimes I need a little bit longer for tasks, and sometimes I need a little bit shorter, but it's been helping me have more of a, to make less decisions about what I'm going to work on next. So things like that have helped me kick a lot of my procrastination to the curb. And I've been, aiming to get rejected, which has helped me stay mentally strong enough to keep going. And it's almost made it kind of like fun to do outreach. And normally I hate any kind of pitching. So that's like a really big step in the right direction. And it is progress. But normally what happens when I get to this point where like I might see a little bit of progress, but not necessarily in terms of like opportunity or clients or cash or page views, when there's less tangible progress, that's when my head starts going pivot, and I change the game and I pick a different idea. Now, from talking to a lot of people, I've and let me know if this is different for you, but I've realized that like a lot of people aren't necessarily that way. Like a lot of people, I think, get over-attached to their ideas when they have something and they really want it to work. And while you shouldn't give up, they have like a rigid kind of stance to it, and they're not really willing to think about like what else could help them or what else they could change or manipulate in order to get them closer to whatever goal they're going towards. But I am the opposite. So like when there's a hint of something not working, or when something isn't going as fast or as smooth as I would like it to go, I'm like, okay, Alan's got 70 more ideas going on in my brain, and sometimes they're, you know, a step off from whatever I'm currently trying to do and it's related, or sometimes they're like 17 steps away and it's like 7 miles down the road, and my head's like, but Alan, that's your best idea, you need to go after that one right now. Like shiny object syndrome. And I just, you know, my head is like, oh, that's fantastic, that's going to be your moneymaker, that's going to be your big break, go. And I need to not do that. Because what I'm realizing, and I forget who, it was somebody in the Gem Nation Facebook group, and I forget who originally introduced me to this concept. So if it was you, tell me so I can thank you. But somebody said that every creative idea and creative project has like a U shape to it. So, you know, there's your high, and then there's kind of this bend in the middle where you kind of get stuck. And that's when you either, you know, you go back to square one, or you have to get through the bottom of that U in order to like get back up. And that made a lot of sense to me, because previously my mindset was, well, if it's this hard, then I shouldn't be doing it. And it's not that I'm like afraid of hard work. I'm absolutely willing and capable and excited to do hard work. I'm terrified of putting in hard work and getting nowhere. And I know that's like the, you know, the big question, like, will this pay off? I think every entrepreneur, every business owner, every person I think feels like that at some point or another. And so it's not like I don't want to do it. And it's not that it's not a lack of motivation. It's not knowing if this is the right hard work for me to be doing at that time, and if it's going to get me where I need to be in the time span that I need it to. Because some ideas are great and they require like a lot of hard work up front, and you don't see any kind of return on that for 10 years later. And like if I want to keep not having a job, I can't, you know, jump into like an idea like that. So you have to, I think there's also that concept that you need to be realistic with whatever hard work you're gonna do. But I just totally like lost my train of thought. This is the problem with doing videos on Fridays, that my brain's already fried. And I say that like I have a weekend, but then I'll take off. Anyways, so I get to that point, and then I go and I jump into a new idea. And I'm realizing that like all of my ideas were probably good enough. All of them probably would have worked if I would have just stuck them out. And if you're new around here, I owned a PR firm, and then I did some different, I tried some different consulting type models and working with business owners to share their stories, and I made some online courses and held some master classes and things like that. It was all great, but for one reason or another, either the models that I had tried weren't great for my mental health, or it ended up being work that consumed me that I wasn't enjoying. And yes, there's hard work, but there also has to be the work that you do like, or it's impossible to keep going every day. And or it was like one-on-one work is really hard for me, because dealing with anxiety and depression, I never know kind of which side of the coin is going to show up that day. So I don't love having my calendar filled with like scheduled calls that I have to commit to being like on game and like on point at a specific time of the day all the time. And so like I know in my head that blogging is the right route for me, and that I'm good at this, and I've been doing it for a while, and I know that I don't want to pivot, because I know that this is what I want to be doing when I am writing, or when I send somebody a blog post and the brand's like, oh my god, this is incredible, or these images capture a brand so well. That lights me up and that makes me so excited. Or when like a reader comments and is like, thank you so much for sharing this story, whether it's a story from me or a story of another business owner, or a story of somebody that's just, you know, sharing something real. And so I'm confident that this is what I want to be doing. But then there's that little voice inside my head that, because I'm not getting as far as I want to right now, that voice is like, pivot, Alan, pivot, it's time to pivot. And I can't do that. I can't. I need to stick this out, because I know that this model works for me mentally and emotionally. And so this video is my commitment to sticking it out. And so let me know if you have any suggestions for that, or if you've ever been in that point in your life when you're like, when do you need to pivot and when do you need patience? Because a lot of people, I think, don't know how to pivot, like I said before. And then there's me, and hopefully I hope that I'm not alone in this, but I don't really know, because I've really talked about this openly a ton. But that feel like I do, where it's so hard to stick with an idea when the hard work comes along, because the hard work is stressful and it takes a lot of your time and energy, and you want to know that time and that energy is going into something effective and productive, and we don't know. And I have a hard time believing in myself when it gets to that point. I have a hard time believing that the work that I'm doing is going to pay off, because I feel like for so long I've been in this short-term mindset of I have to make money right now. I have to be able to pay rent last week. I have to be able to do, this. And so in working in that like paycheck to paycheck mode for a while, it's hard to see the bigger picture. And that's currently what I'm trying to keep my brain doing, is taking a step back and reminding myself like why I am doing this, and why this is the direction I picked, and why this is the direction that I want to stay in. So let me know if any of that lands with you, and if what your thoughts are of like pivoting versus patience, and if pivoting or patience has paid off for you. I could use all the advice and all the help that I could get to keep me on this track, and I'm not going to pivot. I'm not going to do it, but that voice in my head keeps getting like louder and louder every day that goes by, that I don't feel like it's quote unquote working, even though there are signs that it is working. Like I have so many people that are interested and are considering what I propose to them right now. I have so many brands that are in the process of like reviewing my information and getting back to me, like more brands than I've ever had before do that, which is really, really wonderful. And so I need to remind myself that means progress too, and that is just as important. That kind of profit is just as important as that kind of progress. It's just as important as the profit kind of progress, because you need those kind of steps in order to be able to get to the point where your idea is profiting. And so yeah, let me know. I think that's it. Look at how pretty these earrings are. They're from Seven Charming Sisters, and they're $17. That's it. They sent me these a few weeks ago, and I've been wearing them all the time because they're pretty and they look like a gem, and they're inexpensive, and I love them. And they're light. I sometimes like really big stones feel like way down on my earlobes, but these don't. They're great. Yeah. Okay, that's it for this week. I will see you guys next week. Have a great week, everyone.